Looks like
Yep.
it.
Streaming is
All
live.
right. Great. I believe the floor is yours now.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our second meeting for the Tax Commission on tax credits for Howard County, Maryland. First, if you can pull up the agenda. So the meeting has been called to order, and now the approval of the agenda. Do we have any? Can I entertain a vote to approve the agenda?
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
All right. I thank you. We have a motion and a second. So any discussion on the agenda? As a quick note, as we're discussing the agenda, I know the overview is to go through the tax credits. The goal first was to show overall of all the tax credits, and we were hoping to focus on the three. But we know time might not permit us to go through all of that in an hour because we want to give time for budget office to equally talk about the revenue projection. So we may have to defer one or two of them to next week presentation. So just to give us time to have ask questions and all. So if there are no further discussion, then we can approve the agenda as is. Okay. Thank you all. Do I need to take a formal vote, Christian?
So, yeah, technically you should say all in favor. Everyone should say aye. Any opposed? No, and then you move on.
All right, thank you. So all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. I know we have the approval of minutes. We are live streaming this, so there will be no minutes going forward. We are not going to take any minutes because it's being streamed live, so everybody can have access to the full meeting. So there will be no minutes approval of minutes going forward. There will be no minutes issued as well because it's all live and it's saved on the YouTube channel. So now I'll hand it over now to Angie Moore, who will be presenting the overview of the county tax credits. And then afterwards, we'll go to the budget revenue projection. Angie Moore, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Rafi. Marcellus, can you please share the PowerPoint presentation? And you can start with slide 3, please. Okay. So to set the foundation, we just wanted to go over all of the tax credits. Howard County currently administers 29 tax credits and deferrals, grouped into 8 major categories: our senior and agent support, which includes our senior agent in place tax deferrals. A housing and homestead includes, of course, the county's homestead credit, shared equity, which is jointly owned by the Housing Commission, and also our hardship credits. So we have an income-based credit for low-income households for their trash fee, their bay fee, and their stormwater fee. And we also have accessibility and disability, which includes our livable homes tax credit, our disabled workers dwelling officer, and our AIP also falls into this category now. Our economic development tax credits include our commercial and industrial tax credits, which is ran in collaboration with EDA, as well as our Route 1, which we collaborate with DPZ and EDA on, and our Columbia Gateway Enterprise Zone. Our environmental and energy efficiency credits include our high performance and our geothermal device. Public safety, of course, includes our public safety officer for full-time public safety officers, volunteer EMTs and firefighters, and our auxiliary police officers. Our nonprofit credits include credits for our community associations, our daycare centers, therapeutic riding, and our watershed nonprofit tax credit. Our historic preservation credits include projects that restore or preserve historic properties. The state of Maryland administers exemptions, which decrease our accessible base, including disabled veterans, blind persons, nonprofit housing, improvements for health conditions, charitable, religious, and educational organizations. The state also administers the homestead and homeowner credits. You can move to slide 2, please. Slide 4, I'm sorry. The next slide. So for the overview of all the tax credits, we're actually going to look at our spreadsheet that we have in the folder. So if you can pull up the Excel spreadsheet, Marcellus, that'll be helpful. So slides 4 through 9 were just like an overview of all the major tax credit categories. If we scroll, so right now we're looking at columns J and K, tax year 25, fiscal year 26. So if you scroll down to the bottom of this page, Marcellus, so the county issued 119,481 credits and exemptions. And on this spreadsheet, you can tell the difference between the two. If column B, the credit column, has a number, that's an exemption from the state. If it's a word or alphabetical code, then that's an actual credit from the county. So our total amount of credits equaled 44 million across all funds, of which 37 million is foregone revenue from the general fund. And these funds typically support the school system, public safety, and human services. The other funds represent fire, environmental services, and the watershed protection fund. If you scroll back up, Marcellus, please, to the top. So I've highlighted some of the major categories here. So our agent in place credit total 6.4 million for last fiscal year. And we're still working on the AIP applications for this fiscal year. That's why we weren't really highlighting that area yet. But as you see, we're almost to where we were for the entire fiscal year last year for this current fiscal year. Our current application process ends October 1st. So we have better numbers for FY27 after October 1st. Well, really after the beginning of the year, once we apply all of the credits. If you scroll down to the homestead credits on line 28, Marcellus, our homestead credit has increased significantly within the last couple of years. So it went from 2 million in tax year 22, so that's FY23, to 20 million last year, and it's at 26 million currently for FY27. You scroll down to the senior tax credit, Marcellus, please. So the senior tax credit has remained stable throughout the years that we've had the credit. It's an annual application process, so it's not an automatic renewal, but it's remained, close to between 500 and 700 credits being applied. And of course, our veteran exemption from the state. So our veteran exemption from the state is actually $10 million, but because the state decreases our accessible base, we really don't see the $10 million being deducted from our county tax. And the amounts here, the 900 and something thousand that we have here, actually represents the increases and decreases that we see throughout the year. So those are adjustments that are made to the veteran exemptions that come later in the year from ESTET. So I'll pause here and see if there's any questions or areas that you want us to dive more into.
I have a question about the senior tax credit. 2022, it's at 535K and it's only 217K. So that's not consistent. That went down significantly. Is there a reason for that?
Because the year we are still taking applications from people. As you know, our tax bill go out in July, and so we hope that people will apply by June 30th. But we don't close the year till, like Angie mentioned, till September 30th.
Mhm.
And so even after that, we still have people who say, I just missed it by a week. And the goal here for most of these credits is try to listen, see what their rationale is. If they are genuine enough, we open it. If not, and then we just give it to them the following year. But it's been tough. We've had serious conversation on this because we used to close the window in April, and we realized that April, people don't know what credits are available. So that's why we've moved it to just to be fair to all our citizens and all folks who qualify. We say September. But you are required to pay your bills before September 30th. But if you apply and qualify, we will give you a refund. Angie, did that cover that?
Yes, thank you. Thanks for the question, Lisa. I forgot to mention that we're still in the application process for the senior tax credit.
Okay. And can you clarify the veteran tax credit? I don't understand. There's 5 different
So,
item,
Mhm.
rows there, and I'm trying to understand, is it, I'm guessing the top 2 are the newest ones that when we increased, it used to be, we have 100% to say, just for those on the call, 100% service-connected disability, they receive a property tax credit. That's state. Each county can decide if they want to offer additional credits. And just recently, we expanded that to 75% to 99 get a small credit as well. Is that what the top 2 lines are?
So actually, I should have consolidated these lines. So the numbers that end in 20, those are actual, the 100% disabled veterans. The lines that end in 21 are
Can
surviving
somebody
spouse.
mute their phone? I'm sorry, pardon me 1 second. Can everybody mute? Because there's a bunch of distraction and it's hard to hear you. Sorry.
That's okay. Is it
All
better
right. So
now?
yes, thank you.
Okay. So the lines that end in 20, which I can go back and consolidate this for you guys. Those are the actual 100% disabled veterans. So those are the actual service members. The lines that end in 21 are the surviving spouses. So those are surviving spouses. So lines 69 and 71 are surviving, they represent the surviving spouse exemption. The number that ends in 25, so line 72, those are active duty disabled veterans.
Just to add a little more clarity to it, we break them down by how they are qualified. But all of these last 3, the last one, we don't actually get at all from the state because it's 100%. So, and the number that we actually, the total credit that the county gives annually is over $10 million. But it comes from the state, so we don't even put that on. We just have the property on a tax roll, but there is no county tax, not state tax being assessed to it. So, and we've put that data now from SDAT, State Department of Assessment and Taxation, just to have a better understanding of how much credit we're actually giving. But because it's 100%, they don't get a bill at all. And that is over $10 million. We're looking at approximately $10 to $11 million annually. So it will be our second largest credit that we provide for individuals.
So we're not getting $10 to $11 million in tax revenue because of 100% service connected disability. Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you for asking the question, because that is the one that doesn't show up on our tax bills at all. So we had to do some extra work just to make sure that we're able to explain this to you all and to the public as well. That our veterans who are fully 100% disabled do not pay any taxes at all, no county or state tax, full 100%.
So, Rafi, a quick question. So the 100% exemption is on the state taxes. So the county had to opt in to offer that also. So we had to do like a local legislation.
No, that's mandated, I think.
It
Yes,
is
yeah,
mandated.
So that
It's
10 million
mandated?
is county tax, not state.
Okay.
It's county. It's
Okay.
already exempted, but not show it here. In other words, there's another 10 million on top of what's showing here in terms of actual
And it's a
credit.
state mandate. It's not like jurisdictions
Mandated.
have options.
It's state
Yeah,
mandate.
no
Yeah.
options.
And we've rectified that to make sure that we are giving 100% to our veterans on our state, on our code, our county code. So yes, that has been fully applied in the county. Any other
Ophelia,
questions?
did you have a question? I saw your hand up earlier.
No, I think Lisa asked the questions of which I had, but thank you.
Okay.
I know we're going to have time to come back with all of these questions again. I will pull any document that is needed once we start our conversation, but we wanted to give an overview so people have the data as we start our conversation in future meetings.
Okay.
So Angie, go ahead.
Okay. So Marcellus, can you please go back to the PowerPoint presentation? And you can go to the next slide. You can over that information. So this was just a summary of what I just spoke about. And this is a summary of all of the total credits and exemptions for the last 5 fiscal years. So as you see, we went from 18 million in 2022 to 46 million currently in FY27. So it's, you know, and even looking at the number of credits, like the number of credits compared to the dollar amount is significantly higher for FY27 right now. You can go to the next slide, Marcellus, please.
I'm sorry, just a quick question before you proceed. So what is the attributing factor of the increase in the number of credits provided? Because you're saying in 2022, we only did a little over 41K tax credits, and now it's over 116,000
So
individuals.
the two major factors are the homestead credit, which we saw how, well, we'll see it on another slide as well, but we saw how it increased from, I think it was, an increase from 2 million to 26 million currently. And the number of credits went from 16,000 to 55,000 in FY27, tax year 26. The AIP credit significantly jumped. I think we started out with maybe like 1,800 credits for the first year, and now we're over 5,000 credits. So those are the two major factors.
And the third one, Angie, will be we've done a better job of educating folks. And Ophelia, we've come to your office to help us educate especially our seniors on which tax credits that they can apply for. So we'll be doing, this is one of our tasks, the messaging. We've been improving it over the years because we wanted to know is available to them. And I can tell you after this task force, you're probably going to see an equal jump because people will be more aware of all the credits that we have available. So those are the three major driving factors. And the dollar amount, the driving factors for that is equally our assessment.
Mm-hmm.
We are in Howard County. Our home values has been increasing steadily. So that drives it. And this is 25, some of them are 25, some are 20% of the tax credit. So the value goes up, that credit equally goes up.
Makes sense.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It is all yours.
Okay, so on this slide, we are just showing the senior tax credit trend. It's been consistent, and recently with CB 60 2025, we raised the income threshold from 500,000 to 800,000, and this year it was 827,000 for the net worth. So we're seeing, higher income applicants applying for the tax credit. But like I said earlier, we're still working on our current tax year as the applications are not due until October 1st. Okay, next slide, please. And here we're showing the aging in place trend. As I mentioned earlier, we were at 1,721 credits in 2017. Now last fiscal year, we were at 6,255. And this year, currently, we're at 5,349. And you can see the dollar amounts has increased significantly from 1 million to about 6 million. Well, it's going to be over 6 million this year. We still have applications to process. We normally process applications 3 times a year just so that our team can focus on billing as well. So we usually try to apply most of the credits by July 1st. Then we have our supplemental billing. So those are changes that SDOT sends us in August. And then we also try to apply credits before we send out the second installment in December. Any
Just one
questions?
quick point to add. Yeah, just
ahead.
to add, I think it's kind of referencing the question I was asking the last slide. You could see the jump in the number. That's
Mhm.
when the legislation was changed from 2017. So you can see then, of course, the jump has been as a result. I think that was one of the reasons conversation that was had again, because the credit for aging in place expires this tax year. And so the key was for the task force to review it, because now they're getting it for 10 years to look at it and then make recommendation. But we wanted to look at it holistically to see the impact all the credit is having on our entire budget. While it is it's great that we are offering this to our residents and our taxpayers, but we wanted them to know it does have an impact on the overall money we have to the overall budget for the county.
So just to follow up with what Murphy said, so CB 52 2022 increased the number of years from that they can receive the credit from 5 to 8 years. It also increased the threshold for the assessment for the property from 500,000 to 650,000, and it also decreased the number of years for the longevity from 35 years to 30 years. So from 2023 to 2026, we can see the impact on the amounts of credits and the applications that we receive. And CB 60 extended it to from 8 years to 10 years. Okay. Any other questions before we move on? Next slide, please. So this is just an overview of the homestead credit, and we can see that it has definitely increased, and it fluctuates throughout the years depending on the assessments. But right now, currently in the FY27, we're at 26 million. And SDOT can also send us adjustments for the homestead credit throughout the year as well. Any questions? Okay. Next slide, please. And this slide just represents our disabled veterans. And here I added a note about the 10 million not really being seen in our property tax system. However, it represents the exemptions applied during the initial billing. Next slide, please. Here we wanted to demonstrate what percentage of our tax credits, make up our what percentage of our tax credits make up our general fund revenue. I don't think I said that right. Rafi, help me out here.
Yes, what percentage makes up our revenue loss?
Okay, yes.
Yeah, because one, total bill is 735, but now this is the $26 million just for the general fund represent approximately 3% of lost revenue, and so. And I think Angie, is this go ahead?
Yes, this is the end of our presentation for the overview of tax credits. So we can hand it over to the budget office if there's no more questions for me, or we can come back to the overview again at the end of the meeting.
Can I just clarify the last point? So the 3% is what you're saying is a loss in revenue to the county general funds because of the tax credit. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
So the percentage might look small, but the dollar amount is not, because if you are following our budget, we are debating $2 million at the end of the budget year. So so anytime we give out credit, it does have an impact. But because we are a large, we are a mid-sized county, because we're over $1 billion, is significant, but the dollar amount is not. But the percentage is small. But in total revenue, it has a major impact.
Thank you.
I think, Harley, this is where we hand it over to you. So Marcellus, if you can share Harley's presentation. Oh, thank you. So
Yeah,
Dr.
thank you.
Song, so
Yeah,
yours.
thank you. Thank you, Rafi. Okay, yeah, Rafi invited the budget to do a general presentation about the county's general fund revenues because number one, we want to put all the discussion in context there, but also as they just mentioned, the speakers there, some of those tax credit are part of the general fund revenues and actually is pretty big magnitude. So all those are connected. So we want to just provide a general overview of the revenue picture on that. One thing I want to declare is that because we're very early in developing FY28 budget, so we really haven't started anything. We have here is only FY27 approved budget, so all the information I have currently, we'll just kind of use that as a base. So Marcel, could you put to the next page, please? That's it. Yeah, thank you. No, that's not.
No, still our slide. Still stick to the Dr. Song slide, just the next page.
Oh, I can also share from my screen. That's fine. I can share from my screen. Let me
You have
just
to slide up and down, Marcellus, because it's in OneDrive. Yeah. Well, what happened? When you click side to side, it changes the document.
Yes. Do you want me to share it?
I can share actually. If
Okay,
you
go ahead,
don't mind.
Dr.
Yeah. All right. It looks like I don't know what's happening. It looks like it gets frozen. Cancel. Let me share now. The file is not there anymore. Let me
It might be an extended screen.
stop. Yeah.
So try again.
I'll try one more time. I have it here.
And Marcellus, I think you accidentally closed out of Holly's presentation earlier. So if you want to try looking
That's
for
okay.
that again, just in case, if Holly can't get her screen to work.
Right. Let me try one more time. Here. I think it's up now, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Holly,
All right.
I try to put it up, so I don't know if I'm the one controlling it.
No,
Okay.
I already put it. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you. All right. So when we develop FY27 budget, there, we already know we do have a lot of challenges there. If you read the newspaper, actually the state continue to look at the very big budget gap. Why that's relevant is because when they say they're at this point they're looking at 2.8 to 7 billion deficit a state, is when state has issues, they tend to pass some of that to counties there. So in FY27, that's why there's more than $6 million the cost shifted to Howard County, and a lot of other counties have their share too. And the prior year, there's 8 to almost 9 million shifted county. So we don't know what's going to happen next year, but there will be some continued challenges related to that. And also nobody knows what's going to be the final impact from the federal actions, which is also ongoing. But we all know that as of November, the Marylanders, those that work for federal government directly, already more than 15% of them already lost jobs there, and that doesn't include contractors there. So we continue to keep an eye on all those while we look at the revenues in general, since we're talking about big pictures today. So in general, the general fund revenue structure is very heavily reliant on property tax, income tax. That combined, those are more than 90% of total revenues. In 27, it's about 91% of the revenues. And by the way, I'm mostly focused on general fund today. Previously, when Angie presented there, she was using all funds, but a large chunk is general fund. And the general fund is a fund, she already mentioned, that used to support all kinds of services, no matter it's the human community services, public safety, education, everything. So that's most relevant. So that's what we are focused today. So in terms of property tax, we have been experiencing very positive growth in recent years. If you look at the historical growth, assessable base on average in the last 15 years is a little more than 2% per year, pretty much aligned with or even slightly lower than inflation. The last couple of years, however, it has been picking up as real estate gained momentum. So in the last couple of years, it's over 4%. However, based on SDAT, State Department Assessment Taxation's latest number, the number is moderating, and at 2027, it's actually started to trend down a little bit from prior year, and that will likely continue because the triennial assessment cycle of the state, although historically speaking, anything at 4% or close are still on the high end. So we're in general doing very good. And here you see two bars. One is the blue, one is the red. And so the one is the gross assessable base change before homestead, and the red one is the net change after excluding homestead. And just for sake of everybody in the audience there, the homestead is a state tax credit up to 10% for owner occupied property that's subject to state or local taxes there. In Howard County, by law, the county put a 5% instead of cap. So any owner occupied property, that no matter what is your assessment increase there, your tax bill for county tax is going to grow no more than 5% a year. So that part is not materialized, or foregone revenue is due to the homestead tax credit, which is one big part of the overall tax credit. So, and the state also doing the triennial assessment every year. 1/3 of property get reassessed, and that is compared to 3 years ago. And whatever the increase from or decrease from 3 years ago, if it's increase, get facing over the next 3 years. So it's also a delayed impact from the market to your tax bill. But if it's a negative growth, it's get taken care of right away rather than get phased in. And the county's tax rate for real property is 1.044 for general fund, and also there's a fire tax rate of 20.6 cents. So the factors impacting property tax, as you probably already imagine, is mostly the real property appreciation combined with Maryland's triennial reassessment and phased-in approach, which in practice really smoothing and delaying all those market changes there. Property gain is still pretty good, but it has been moderating. The most recent, the median home sales prices for calendar year 2025 is represent 2.5% growth from prior year. So it's no longer like a couple years ago. It was a much strong growth, which kind of positively impacted the assessable base growth so far. But since then, it has been moderating. So last year is about 2.5% home sales price, which is going to impact not only today, but the next few years assessable base for tax purpose there. It's also impacted by new constructions. Whenever there's new constructions, it will be added on top of existing property appreciation. And that is very limited because currently, or in the last couple of years, new construction in the county are at the lowest level in the last 2 decades for all kinds of reasons, both market and also regulatory reasons there. And commercial property base there, it also has been growing, but lagging behind and actually lower than the state average at this point. The other part is coming into play is the foregone revenues, which I think finance already talked extensively there. One big part is homestead tax credit that's only applicable for owner-occupied houses there and cap the growth for tax purpose at no more than 5% a year. And there's also other credits at various different tax credits and exemptions there. One example mentioned just now is age in place credit there. CB 52 2022 passed a couple years ago, provided more easier eligibility, increased credit term, and a higher credit ceiling there for the benefit of the eligible retirees or the seniors there. That actually has been increasing the credit currently between $6 to $7 million a year. So there are some uncertainties when it comes to the forecasting property tax there, because the real estate market, as we all know, that has a big affordability issue, not only in our county, but also in many other places in this area there. And that combined with still relatively high mortgage rates make it very difficult. And the housing supply is an issue as we have very low new constructions going on currently. There's also continued to challenge the commercial base there. So there are some uncertainties. But on the other hand, among all those revenues, property tax is still the most predictable and more reliable because it is actually have the 3-year triennial assessment. So a large part is driven by existing or prior assessments. So it's to a large extent very stable. So currently we're looking at still 3 to 4% growth a year, at least in near future, although the pace seems to be slowed down a bit. The foregone revenue for property tax credit there in FY27 general fund budget, we are estimating about $40 million. $26 million is homestead and $14 million for all other tax credits combined on that there. These is equivalent to, I know previous talk about 3% of total tax revenues there. But if you look at the overall general fund revenues, is about 2.4%. Again, fairly large percentage, because just put the discussion in context, general fund revenue growth a year on average before pandemic is like a 3.6, 3.7% a year in total. So every year the growth of the general fund is still very limited. So the foregone revenue is really not a small dollar amount or as a percentage of total general fund high. The other thing worth mentioning is the tax credit has been increased quite a bit over the last decade. So at this point, total credit is about 4 times of the tax credit provided 10 years ago. Now, one thing I know, like this commission is going to take into consideration or dive more is the individual tax credit. And one thing I want to kind of conceptually point to your attention is in the world of budgeting, it's all connected. It's really, we have to look at every issue holistically, because money is money. If money provided in this way means this funding is not available for another things there, or even for targeting the same population, there's different budget tools it could use. It could be in the form of direct relief in the tax credit form, or it could be a service provided to target population either by county agencies or through our funding to nonprofits. So a lot of time it is a trade-off. If you do one way, that means that you cannot do another way. So when you look into the tax policies or general budgeting policy, all those things have to be put together. And the other thing is, I know we're going to talk in length later, maybe not today, is like what is the best way to achieve what kind of policy goals there? Is it certain population or subgroup of the population, like aging in place as the example? It's not just the seniors, it's certain portion of the seniors that has own houses and lived in the house by certain years. That's really a subgroup of the overall population. So sometimes it needs to be clarified what is the most critical goals and who do we want to help and through what threshold is more like age or age plus income level. So many factors get into play when we talk about like to serve certain population. Now go back to the tax discussion on the second highest tax is income tax. This one, unlike property tax, experienced huge volatility historically, but even more so in recent years. Now, before pandemic, 5 to 10 years average is between 3 to 4% in general. Usually the swing is no more than a few percentage points between years, but that's not the case in last few years. In last few years, the actual audited income tax, some years is as high as double-digit growth, and other years could be as low as -6%. So that actually makes it extremely difficult to understand what's going to happen for individual years because there's a huge swing. As a result, the total general fund actual audited revenues in FY25 increased by 112 million, but the year before FY24, it's only increased by $11 million. It's like just a huge volatility, but on average, it's still somewhere between 3 to 5% on average. But it just individuals is huge volatility, and some of the reason is capital gains because the stocks market has been going crazy in some years, probably continue to be so currently, and when that is no longer there, it's a huge shift from a huge spike to a huge dip. And also when states make their own estimate of income tax distribution, they use some historical lagged data before they actually have everybody's tax filing. So when they have the final, they try to reconcile. It's discovered some years counties over distribute, sometimes under distribute, and they have huge swing of those reconcile number that also swing the number dramatically. Now, for income tax, another challenge is how to account for, obviously, the federal impact on that. In Howard County, of our residents that's employed, more than 11% worked for federal county, for federal agencies directly. We don't know how many work for contracts there, but suspect there's also a significant number. So those people have been vulnerable, continue to be vulnerable for federal actions there. And typically what happens is anything related to that have an impact, it will have a lagged revenue impact because, again, it takes time to go through the process and to reflecting tax filing and reflecting reconciliation distribution from the state. So it usually takes a few years, if not longer, to fully materialize those impacts there. So everything combined, in FY27 budget, we still anticipate a very high growth, primarily because of those capital gains, like non-sustainable factors. But going forward, that's not going to be sustainable. We are looking at more going back to historical level, somewhere between 3 to 4%, aligned with what we're seeing at both the property tax market and also income tax trend there. In terms of how do we spend the revenue growth in FY27? No surprise, the majority of that goes to support K-12 education on that. In this case, on that 66% of revenue are used to support school needs, and some are reflecting direct appropriation school system. Some are in other form, like to support teachers' pension, which state shifted to the counties there, to support private pre-K match, which is according to the blueprint efforts on that. So debt service and a lot of other things there. But obviously, we also have to support all other critical service from public safety, community services there. But they, in general, individually and aggregately, represent a relatively smaller share of total in terms of taking a share of the total revenue growth. So as we just mentioned earlier, and the county spending feasibility advisory committee also reported a few months ago that while 27 revenue looks strong in general, they're not likely to be sustainable because most of them are driven by temporary factors. Going forward, we still look at in general between 3 to 4% of growth per year, as represented by those like longer term yellow orange bar there, and that's also largely in line with historical 10-year trend, which is about 3.7% growth on that there. And by the way, on the personal income growth part, also just FYI that the employment growth, we actually heard it's a negative, we found it's a negative growth in 2025, primarily because federal actions on that. So we're still keeping a close eye to see what's going to happen going forward. So based on that projection, there will likely to be a huge gap between what's needed or requested versus what is likely to be available in terms of revenue growth. Every year we collect from all agencies, including our education entities, what is your projected expenditure needs in the next 6 years. So in aggregate, that request represent about 6.9% growth a year on average. So it's kind of like a doubling what will likely to happen on the revenue side. So if we don't take any actions every year, we have to kind of cut back expenditure dramatically or find a way to raise revenues there. So it's going to be tough, and it's not only 1 year, but every single year. So again, one piece of funding, no matter in form of what expenditure revenue, they all like get connected there to the overall big discussion. So that's just my concrete snapshot, maybe more than what you need, but I just want to put the discussion in context. I'll stop there and see whether anybody have questions. If not, I will just close my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Song.
Yeah.
Any questions? Okay. So I think those are the two presentations we had today, and I know we are getting close to time, so we are not going to have time to discuss the other tax credits. So what would the goal for next week will be to present the other three, to go in them in details, to go through all the council bills that were approved, that have been passed and approved, that got us to where we are, and talk about the underlying issue. I think that was one of the questions, Ophelia, you asked in our first meeting. Let's understand what the credit was for. So we're going to now focus on the charge of the task force, the 3 tax credits. And we'll discuss them after the presentation. We'll start our conversation, and then hopefully, I know we've been pulling some of the information we're getting about what people are looking forward to, and I know all of you are probably getting some of that conversation too, to start having that conversation. But I think this was the overview, so we know the impact of what tax credit means for the county. And the next one will be, why do we have these 3 specific ones? And just so it's for particular our seniors. And I think the overall is that we are an aging population. I think the data shows that. We've been talking about it for years. We are happy that our seniors who have worked, who have paid their dues to this county, are no longer moving to Florida or Delaware. They've decided to stay, and we have to do something for them. But again, what are we doing? Whatever we do has some ramification. I think that's a challenge for us as a task force to now decide what can we do? How do we protect the slow down in our property tax revenue? But to make sure we're doing right by our citizens. Yeah. So I think our next meeting is going to be next week, Wednesday, which will be the 25th or 26th. But we'll have that on, we'll send out the agenda to be posted on Friday, because that's where we're supposed to make sure that the public is aware. So we will get all of that done. It will be pretty straightforward. It's just going to be 3 tax credits, and then we'll have room to start our conversation. So if any of the task force members have questions or stuff you want us to pull, we'll definitely get them out. Ophelia, I know you've asked for some, so we'll make sure that we respond to all of those, and we send it to all the committee, the task force, and we'll put it on the shared drive so everybody can access it. So we'll start doing all of that as we move forward. So is there anything else that we need to plan for? Or questions, concern?
Oh, I will have a quick thought on that there. I know like in the commission that we have some expert here, like work with some of the targeted population directly, maybe at the next meeting also when we go through that, if you guys can share some of your perspective. What do you think like are most the critical needs among those targeted population? Like, is there any subgroup or certain form of service like probably more affected than others, or like equally important? I think if you have some insight, it would be good to hear on. Thank you.
Thanks, Ali. All right. I think we're right the hour now. So if there are no other questions, concern, or discussion, I can entertain a motion for us to adjourn.
I so motion to adjourn the meeting for today.
Second.
Thank you, Jonathan. So the meeting has been, motion has been moved and seconded. Meeting is hereby adjourned. Thank you all. See you next week.
Thank you. Have a good
Thank
evening.
you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye.